What is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video we're taking Yamato 6+ into some Pirate Rumble and we're showcasing the new and improved, not that it needed to be improved, PSY-based team. So with the release of Yamato, you guys would have seen my 6-star PvP showcase. I'll try and leave a card at the top of the video for you guys and a link in the description if you guys want to actually check that one out. That particular video was a lot of fun, and the in-team is very, very good, but the in-team has always stereotypically been a defensive team. Obviously, with Yamato's release, though, it does introduce, more options when it comes to attacking, but now that her 6+ is actually a PSY unit, we can partner her up with some really busted characters like Enel, Roger, Wano Law, Verse Shanks, Scopper Caban, Rebecca Toy Soldier. This particular team is just an absolute weapon, and because PSY has so many options, it just works really, really nicely. Now, this particular fight here, I really should have been using Wano Law, as I was coming up against a lot of Driven and Powerhouse units, but nevertheless, the option of Scopper and Shanks in the back works very, very nicely as well. So I do have two team variations for you guys in today's video, mainly showcasing the Wano Law team build that I like to use, as well as utilizing the Scopper in the front, as well as having Verse Shanks in the back. Roger's pretty much a staple, Enel's very, very good, but PSY has a lot of options as well. PSY, you can use stuff like Super Type Boa, you can use stuff like Germa 66 as legends. They all work very, very nicely, but the big thing about PSY is they have a lot of very good Pirate Rumble rare recruits. So namely Rebecca Toy Soldier and their amazing passive, the ability to nerf slashes which pop up on a lot of teams, as well as Enel. Legend Enel obviously is a very, very good character. He provides a lot for the team, and because Yamato can give him a lot of attack, you can actually do some actually crazy things with his special. Because he pops his special off so frequently, you guys can actually do some cool things, as he can get very, 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 very high attack stats. So as you can see here, we were coming up against a pretty stacked quick team. We did manage to sort of take out their core fairly early, making it hard for them to get their haste abilities off. Once you've sort of done that, you're pretty much in good stead against Quick. But it is still a very, very good team, even over here on Japan. It is running around as the best team in the game at the moment on Global, but on Japan it still puts up some pretty good numbers. So that was the first fight. Let's move on to another fight now. Alright, the next fight is a little bit of a mirror match. We come up against a PSY team that actually utilizes the Straw Hats and Kizaru. Now, as I mentioned, PSY have a lot of options, and Straw Hats are a very, very good option if you guys are looking for some defensive-based options. Their ability to heal, their defense, which is great. They can do a lot of damage, and they just don't die. Every time I verse a team with Straw Hats, they just don't die. Now, they're another good option for this PSY team that you do see here. If you guys are missing something like Enel, you can easily slide Straw Hats in. They've got some very, very good Pirate Rumble stats. The downside to them is they obviously restrict you from using a lot of other characters, as it literally is all of the Straw Hats. But when it comes to Rumble, especially the PSY team, you don't really have to worry about that too much per se, because there's really not that many Straw Hats that sort of take their place. But nevertheless, the PSY team is very, very good. They have stuff like Kilgara Noland. As I mentioned, if you are building it around sort of slasher and shooter centric, you can use stuff like Kizaru 6+. You do have Super Type Boa, you have Germa, and you have Aokiji. The PSY Aokiji, he's another really, really good option as well. So, PSY has a lot of very, very good legends. They also have some very good rare recruits. You've got characters like the Kazuna rare recruit, Frankie. You also have, the free-to-play Zoro, the Treasure Map Mugiwara characters. They all also work very, very nicely as well. Huge shout-out to my boy, Regicide, for the Zoro tip. He can give cooldowns charge as well, which makes Yamato pop off very, very quick. And as you guys can see, once Yamato pops her special off, if she hits something, she basically kills them. It's not even a competition. She will literally just kill anything she touches, and it works very, very nicely. Very, very nicely. The beautiful thing about using Enel in the front as well is, as you can see, Enel's got about 37 attack. So when Enel's popping off his special, doing that amount of damage, it works so nicely with the nerfing that Roger and Scopper can provide. And if you do come up against slashes as well, which most teams do have slashes on them, stuff like Quick can have slashes. Well, Quick's probably the only color that doesn't really have slashes sort of floating around. PSY does have a lot of slashes with Roger and Kizaru. Obviously, Strength has stuff like Odin, Sweet 3. And then you've got Int with the Halloween slashes and stuff like that. So Enel's still very, very viable, especially on the PSY team, because his passive is so damn good. And when you partner him up with something like Rebecca Toy Soldier, you can do a lot. So that was a bit of a mirror match team. I just wanted to showcase against another team that wasn't using Yamato and did have some other very good PSY options, so we could talk about them. Let's move on to another fight now. Alright, so taking on the Big Daddy Int team. Now, this particular Int team is a bit wonky, but it does have all the big names and big players. When I say it's a bit wonky, they are using Enel in the front. Whenever you are using Enel, you need to make sure that you do not use more than 6 characters. And for this particular guy right here, He's put Enel in the front. He's using 7 characters. So ideally, you'd want to be putting Jozu in that middle slot, bringing Enel to the front of your bench, and then pushing, what's his name, Smoker to the back, or vice versa, putting Smoker in the middle so you get the miss chance and stuff like that. Mainly because you're just not getting Enel's passive here, and it's just a bit of a waste to having them in the front. But as I mentioned, they do have some big movers and shakers. They've got Moria, who's an absolute annoyance when it comes to fighting Pirate Rumble. As you can see, he pretty much always gets his special off first, and he halves 3 character stats. He basically does what Yamato does, just more consistently. And that's why the in-team was so good as defense, because if you just partnered him and Yamato up, you could just do some wild things. They've also got Reiju, who can do damage over time, which can be a little bit of an annoyance. It's not that much of an annoyance, but the fact that she heals and gives defense and stuff is a bigger issue. They've got Marco, who gives cooldowns, which means Moria can pop off a lot quicker. And then they've also got some very good defense and some tanking with the big dog versus Whitebeard, who actually just came out on the global side of the game. We'll be doing a showcase on him very, very soon, as well as Shanks, as they are both very, very strong units, like very, very strong units. But as I mentioned, they are using 2 very good Pirate Rumble units in Jozu and Smoker, but ideally, if you are utilizing Enel, you really want to make sure you're maximizing Enel's value, and you want to be putting him in the back. Otherwise, something like this happens, and Enel just dies, and then you've literally just wasted that front slot. So I did want to verse an in-team, and the in-team honestly can still stall me out very, very easily, especially if they do have Yamato on that team, the 6-star Yamato. So this was sort of the best showcase that I could sort of come up with, as if you do see an in-team, like a stacked in-team running around, just don't fight it. Like, it's not even worth your time. Like, most of the time, they will stall you out. That's their aim game. As Reiju can give, like, damage over time, a lot of defense up as well. Moria halves your stats, which makes it very hard to output damage. Whitebeard can tank a lot, and he can actually do a lot of damage. Once you hit that, like, lower than 50%, 50 seconds, he can actually do just a butt ton of damage. Moria's just going to keep, like, lowering our stats, and lucky for us this particular round, he didn't lower our Yamato stats. Ideally, you just don't want him to halve Yamato stats, or even something like Enel's. Enel or Yamato, if you can just get one of them that's not halved, you will be in a little bit of a better stead. But we did lose Roger, which is fine, because we do have Verse Shanks coming in. Verse Shanks is going to give a little bit of HP, and he's special because we're in the last 50 seconds. He's actually going to do 3,000 fixed damage, which is really, really nice. Really, really nice with Shanks. We do have miss chance as well from Smoker, which is super annoying. Every time I come up against Smokers, like, I end up just getting absolutely, like, wiped by that miss chance. But at the end of the day, look, it is what it is. We do have our nukers coming in the back now. This is why you always want to try and run, like, a very solid bench. Using stuff like Law, utilizing stuff like Sober Mask, it is very, very handy. Now, as you can see, like, even with this guy not using Enel in his true sort of fashion, or in his, like, most optimal setting, the in-team is still, like, whittling me down very, very easily. And we've been doing quite well against the in-team here. But unfortunately, like, if you guys just see the in-team, just don't fight it. Like, it has so much defense, it has so much prowess, and it'll easily stall you out, or it'll get you down to that last 9 seconds, as you can see there. So, pretty close matchup there against the in-team, but I did want to include it. So, let's move on to another fight now. Alright, so I found a Dex team, and you don't stereotypically find Dex teams floating around too much, but I do think the Dex team needs to get a little bit more credit than it actually gets. It is still very, very, very good at defending, especially if you are coming up against stuff like, I don't know, Quick, and what have a lot of people maxed? Quick. But the big reason I wanted to include Dex here is mainly because they have access to a very, very good nuker on the bench, which is, his name is V3 or Super Type Zoro. Super Type Zoro, if you get Super Type Zoro on a defensive team popping off at the exact right time, it can basically just end the match, and you can get some really, like, easy wins, which is really cheeky. And I do really like using Zoro as a bench unit. I'll using something like Kaido as a bench unit, but the Dex team, like I said, it sort of gets undervalued, mainly because it does have a lot of high-end legends, a lot of, like, valuable legends, as well as a lot of valuable Pirate Rumble units. But in saying that too, like, look at my side team, like, I mean, that's pretty much goes for all of these teams anyway. But you don't really tend to see too much Dex defense floating around. But nevertheless, it does have a lot of slashes on it, which makes Rebecca Toy Soldier a little bit more viable. Once you do get your Yamato special popping off, you can just do a lot of damage. You can also lower stats as well, which helps out a lot, because when you're halving their defense, as Dex have a lot of defense, when you start halving defense and then, like, lowering attack with Scopper and Roger, they basically just can't do damage to you, and you can end up just, like, pumping them. But as I mentioned, if you do if they do sort of survive to around that 50-second to that 30-second mark, and they do have something like Sobermask coming in the back, as well as Zoro coming in the back, it can be very, very scary. The thing about the Dex team is they do use Law. Now, I'm not a big advocate of actually using Law and Rumble. Out of the Onigashima trio, I do think he's probably like one of the weakest in terms of the Rumble stats. Queen is very, very good because Queen has fixed damage, like a 5k fixed damage no matter what, and can bind when you come up against characters like Enel. But Law sort of puts up this counter mechanic. He does a bit of damage, but like, I never really see that counter mechanic really coming into play too much. It doesn't really have the effectiveness that it sounds on paper. But nevertheless, the Dex team has a lot of defense, and Law can output up quite a bit of damage. As you guys can see there, we did actually lose our Rebecca Toy Soldier, which is fine because we are in the last 50 seconds anyway. We do get a little bit more HP with Shanks now, as well as get a very nice special from him with his fixed damage. But once Yamato comes in and like hits 2 units, if she can take out like a defensive prowess like Queen or Kid, you are going to be in real good stead. The downside is now we're getting real close to that 30-second mark. We just had our boy Zoro come in, and he's going to be attacking very, very soon. And most likely, yep, there it is. He has his special ready to go. So we are probably going to take this Zoro special to the face, and this is actually going to get very, very scary. We're probably going to lose a couple units here, but hopefully we can sort of tank it a little bit. And Scopper, lower the attack of Zoro, please. Okay, we lowered the attack of Zoro, which is really, really nice. But even still, Zoro's going to come in and, yeah, basically just wipe almost our entire team. So that's what I mean by Zoro is a game changer. We managed to just hang on to Roger, which is really, really nice. And then we do still have Shanks with his fixed damage to sort of wrap this fight up. Lucky for us, we do have Shanks in the back. Otherwise, this would have been really scary. As well as also having our nukers. We do have Sobermask, we do have Law. They are very, very good at nuking. And as you guys can see, their Dex is still a very, very reliable force when it comes to defending. So let's move on to another fight now. Alright, so moving on to the strength team now. Now, the strength team, the poor strength team, like honestly, like the poor old strength team. The strength team is still, like, it's good. Don't get me wrong, the strength team is good. But, like, Bandai, just give it more support. It needs more support. Like, if you can get Kid to pop off at the right time, like, you will be in good stead. Because, like, Kid can just basically board wipe. Especially with such a high attack stat that Strength Swords, like, aims to get around. As well as just bypassing all defense. It works very, very nicely. However, the HP and the defense stats of the strength team, they tend to lack quite a bit. And if you don't have Jack, you will just never see that Kid special, like, ever. Like, you'll just never see it. But with the side team, the beautiful thing about the side team is we have a lot of attack down nerfing. We can lower attack with both Scopper, Yamato, and Roger as well, actually. So we are in good stead there. We can also halve stats with Yamato. That is another big reason why she is so goddamn broken. And even though we, like, do a lot of damage early and we can take some of these, like, big shots from stuff like Ace and other units, as you guys can see there, without enough HP, with fixed damage, and without enough defense, like, the strength team, it sort of just can't really hold its own, especially when you have the attacking prowess of something like Sai. So I wanted to include that there. It was a bit of like a blowaway, but I definitely wanted to include it. Alright, so the next fight is against a bit of a rainbow team, and I definitely wanted to include this particular team because Ace Sabo literally just came out, like, a week ago, not even a week ago actually, on the global side of the game. So I did want to include him somewhere, mainly because I did try to put together like a Pirate Rumble showcase for Ace Sabo, but stereotypically they are just very, very good at defending. So I thought I would include them here in this video today on the Japanese side of the game. Now, this particular defensive team's actually, it's not a bad one. It's definitely not a bad one. It has a lot of cerebral-based units, and it can tank very, very well. Ace Sabo is a very good rainbow unit. The downside with Ace Sabo is they're not really getting all of the buffs from this particular team, namely from stuff like Neko and stuff from like V2 Shirishiri, because they're just sort of cerebral striker-centric units. Ace Sabo, as good as they are, they sort of just, like, they find it, like, the rainbow team just finds it very, very hard to sort of hold together. But the cerebral rainbow team is quite nice. It can stall you out, but there is other units that you can use, like Jack, Roger, Rayleigh, Shanks crew. There's a lot of other units that you can definitely slide onto this team to make Ace Sabo work a little bit nicer. But as you guys can see there, they sort of just got, like, clapped and blown out of the park. And now we just have our big movers and shakers coming in. Another reason I wanted to include this particular team is they do use Fire Tank Pirates in the back. Fire Tank Pirates, honestly, are one of the most underrated legends in the entire game. I would easily say they probably are the most underrated legend. A lot of people give them, like, they know they're good, but they don't know they're good. And in Rumble especially, and this has always been a thing for Beach characters, they just don't die. Like, they just refuse to die. And it's so annoying because once you lock onto them and your characters are just attacking Beach, or the fire tank pirates I should say, you just literally can't take out the rest of the units. Lucky for us, we managed to do that because we have a lot of AoE with this particular team. But as you guys will see now, for the next like 10 seconds, we just like take our like sweet ass time trying to take out Beach. He's so self-reliant in terms of his HP and his defensive stats, the fire tank pirates, sorry I should say. And it just takes forever to kill. Like, even just pumping specials at him, he's just still alive. It's like, Beach, bro, just die. Just get out of here. So that was the bit of a Rainbow Ace Sabo Fire Tank Pirate Showcase. We're going to wrap it up with my Wano Law comp of this particular team. And that's going to end the video. So let's move on to the final fight now. Alright, so the final fight utilizes Wano Law in the team. We pushed Scopper to the back, and we did remove my boy Verse Shanks. Now, the big upside to removing Verse Shanks is we can actually include PvP Whitebeard. PvP Whitebeard, in my opinion, is one of the best bench nukers in the entire game. He's so self-reliant, he can just come in and clap. Law gives a lot of cooldowns as well, and the big thing about Law is he's very, very good at nerfing Driven and Powerhouse units. So I did manage to find a Yamato versus 6-star Yamato set up to finish this off, and this Driven like in team is actually pretty stacked. It's like a Driven Powerhouse centric team. They do have Marco, who can give a lot of cooldowns. They don't have Moria, however, and if this particular team had Moria instead of page 1 ulti, it would do a little bit nicer. But the beautiful thing about using Wano Law, and I actually just couldn't find that. I really tried to find that, but I just couldn't. So page 1 ulti as the new legend, as well as Yamato was the closest thing I could find. But with the nerfing that Wano Law provides with just not halving, but like reducing their cooldown by level 6 and giving us level 6 cooldown, it just means that we can pop our specials off a lot quicker, namely our Yamato special. Once we get that Yamato special popping off, not only do we just like kill everything, his Yamato's going first though because of Marco, but not only do we just like kill 2 units, but we can halve stats. Now, even with our Yamato getting halve stats here, we managed to take out both Reiju and page 1 ulti, and after that, like, it's just GG from here on out. But I did want to include this little Wano Law in the final part of the video, but I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there and belt the like button for me if you're new to the channel. Hit that big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Lates!